everybody, and welcome to the Customer Experience Podcast R&R with myself, Richard Knight.
Myself, Rhian Huxtable, and we have a very esteemed guest with us today. I'd like to introduce everyone to Mr. Ian Kelsall, who's our esteemed colleague from up north, well, the Midlands. Anyway, so anywhere north of Bristol, they don't drink cider. Well, they do in Hereford, don't they? I'll shut up. Anyway, Ian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to drink cider or beer or gin or wine if you're in the chair, Ryan. So thanks for the invite to talk on today's podcast. So yeah, my name is Ian Kelsall and I run the Insight 6 business in Staffordshire and Cheshire.
Marvellous. So we thought this on our 73rd episode, that's right, 73 warblings from the West Country, we thought we'd expand it a little bit, away from where down the southwest, and we go up country and find out what's going on or what's been going on up there in 2023. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next, well, who knows how long, however long, depends. If one of us, runs out of steam at some point, then we might finish. If not, we'll be going for hours. So we're going to find out how things have been going in 2023 from the customer experience world, and then think about a little bit about what we're thinking is going to be occurring. What do we need to focus on in 2024? So it's all been go down here in the West Country. So what about from your point of view, Ian? How's things been going in further up north ish Staffordshire way for 23?
2023, yeah, it's a good time to reflect, I guess, and look back at what has happened last year. It's been a good year for us. We've kept most of the clients that we've been working with for several years. So again, good loyalty with the clients that continue to work with us. Trends, I guess, from my point of view, I feel there's definitely been more focus on investing in people and people realizing that actually in order to deliver a great customer experience, you've got to look after your team and look after your people. And I guess that might be driven by the inelasticity of the labour market. So when you've got people, it's really difficult to replace them or recruit. So therefore, you might have to look after your people a little bit better. So I think it's definitely a trend I've seen up here where businesses are investing more in their teams. And I think also with a push for productivity and efficiency, again, people looking at processes. So customer journey mapping as an example, because they've realized actually that customer journey mapping doesn't necessarily increase cost or increase time. Actually, it probably helps to reduce costs and reduce time, as well as deliver a great customer experience as well. So there are definitely two trends I've seen appear: investing in people and investing in making their processes work both for themselves as a business, but also for the customer as the person that pays the wages.
So that sort of investment in people piece is really interesting, isn't it? Because, there's lots of, you get the odd person in an organization who says, yeah, definitely got to focus on that because that's the important stuff. So they put in a training session, based on something like the mystery visits that's been going on. Oh, so-and-so isn't picking up the phone and using somebody's name. So we'll run a session for an hour and tell them that they have to do that. And that's the tick in the box. Is that something that you've been seeing 23, or has there been more of that? Actually, we do need to do a little bit more with that to make it effective, if you like.
I think there's a little bit, I think there's definitely a focus on the compliance elements of ticking boxes and doing things. But actually what I've seen more is the behavioral element. How do we help people to make better decisions? How do we help people to really think about the customer? How do we help people to kind of lead that CX agenda? So it's much more around the behavioral stuff than it is about the tick box stuff. There's a bit of that coming out of some of the CX reviews. Obviously, there's things that need to be done. Tables need to be cleaned. Phones need to be answered. But certainly what I've seen up here is far more sort of cultural and behavioural than it is about following a process.
One of the interesting things that I think we've noticed in the industry, Ian, and I'd be interested to get your views on this, is particularly if you look at the ICS results, the Institute Customer Services indicators suggest that overall satisfaction for clients and customers has gone back by about 2% on the year. And interestingly, some of the clients that we've been working with down here, we've seen a real juxtaposition. Some have gone back, some have gone forward. I think the ones that have tended to have gone back have absolutely struggled with that point you made around the employee engagement, but more importantly, the elasticity of the jobs market, where you've got really, really highly trained roles, particularly in professional services, where they can't recruit, and therefore that's then impacting on the pressure that's putting colleagues under, and therefore they're not able to give the level of service that they want. And I'm not sure, if you think about the current noise from the government around, reducing net migration, and whatever your political view on that is your political view. But my broader point here is that that's not an attractive part of the economy to be in, is it? In terms of trying to bring external support into the country. So, I mean, one of my worries, if you like, for CX in 24, absolutely, I think is impinged and hinges on this point around getting great people, looking after great people who will then look after your customers. And to Rich's point, I think sadly there are some, putting it out there, some people will disagree with me, but we never shy away from a debate on this podcast. But I think sadly there are some businesses that are customer washing, greenwashing their outputs to try and hide what is effectively a really challenging operational background that they find themselves in.
Yeah, there's two stories I'd like to share here at this point. I was taking William to school today, so he's my 13-year-old son, for those who don't know. And he asked me a question which was quite interesting. He said, "What comes first, Dad, inflation or the minimum wage increase? Because surely one drives the other." And I was like, yeah, exactly right. And I couldn't wait to drop off at school thinking, I don't know how to answer that question. So give him a slap and say, "Go do your physics homework." And I didn't slap any child, by the way, in case somebody is listening. So then I was fortunate enough to go to our local chamber council meeting. I was sitting on the Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce Council, and we invited a gentleman there from the Bank of England to talk about his view of the world and what the state of the economy was looking like, etc., etc. And he asked the question again, which is, anybody got any questions? I'm like, I've got a great question. So I repeated the 13-year-old's question to him, and he said, that's really quite interesting, and then answered it. And I also then followed up with a question, which was, well, is there any evidence to suggest that minimum wage results in job losses, given the problem we've got with the job market? And if I've got, just for easy maths, if I've got 10 employees and I've got a 10% pay rise that I need to give, because obviously it's not just those are minimum wages, all the differentials I need to maintain as well, then I've got to find that extra 10% somewhere. So I've either got to become 10% more efficient, I've got to charge 10% more, or I've got to get rid of 10% of my workforce. So 10 employees might equal 9 people get a pay rise. Unfortunately, one person loses their job. Is there any evidence to suggest that that's what's happening? He said, over the 20 odd years that minimum wage has been in place, there's zero evidence to suggest that minimum wage causes job losses until now. So this is the first time we've announced a minimum wage increase, and we've seen a reaction in the job market. So this is a very different trading environment that we're about to enter into. Maybe tech and AI is part of that, because clearly you can bot your way out of situations, or you can have a robot doing something. So there might be efficiencies from that perspective. But running the business efficiently and running the business properly, and by properly I mean looking after both your colleagues and your customers, which then has a commercial impact, I think is far more imperative than it's ever been, because you can't paper over those cracks you've talked about. Somewhere along the lines, you're going to get found out. The world is going to slow down. There's going to be far more competition for whatever our clients or we are selling. So if you don't look after your customers, they'll just stop coming to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting one in terms of that sort of reference to the technology piece and the whole AI side of things, because those have been the conversations that I've been hearing lots and lots more about. This intelligent AI, and we're going to make sure that we can bring it all in, etc., etc. And from my point of view, I absolutely believe that there is a place for it, and it will make a big difference in terms of the outputs, things like those chatbots that annoy everybody and all of those lovely things. But do we think, is there that danger of people going completely and utterly too far the wrong way, and then that behavior level or the skill level of humans dropping even further away? I think one of the big things that I've heard recently is that the number one skill, or the lack of skill, the number one area is the ability to speak on a telephone, and that people can't do that anymore. What do we think?
I think Ryan mentioned about the Institute of Customer Services. I saw a report from them, I think it might have been 12, 18 months ago, certainly on the back end of the COVID fallout, where actually it highlighted that exact problem, that everyone's invested in tech, but actually there's almost a danger that you overinvest in tech, because people still want human contact. They still want to go into shops and touch and feel products and speak to an individual and be listened to, because that's another art form that a lot of people might struggle with. So that was quite interesting from that perspective. But I think to your point, Rich, and I'm sure you guys are the same, when we're doing training courses with our teams, it's about, yes, there's a process, there's a framework, but actually it is about being a human. It's about listening. It isn't about having a lot of cookie cutter responses. It's, well, how do you tailor that experience for the individual? So giving people the confidence sometimes to say yes because it's the right thing to do, and sometimes to say no because it's the right thing to do as well. So there's never going to be a complete black and white kind of rule book of doing things, but you've got to give a culture and leadership and skills to empower people to do whatever felt right at the time. And if that turns out to be the wrong decision, well, then you coach people to get better. What you can't just do is kind of have a very rigid process of people becoming robots. Otherwise, you will end up with lots of AI robots stood there on a till or serving your food or whatever it will be, or answering the phone to a law firm, where it's just a simple process of yes, no, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think we're beginning to see that, and I think one of the trends that I if I got my crystal ball out for next year, I think we are starting to see the tipping point with the use of tech and human interaction. So if you take an example, one of our old clients, Booths, up in but a bit further north than you, Ian, in the northwest, they're removing pretty much all of their self checkouts because they've done some insight work with their customers, and their customer base, their persona type doesn't want to interact with a machine; it wants to interact with a human. I was having a very similar conversation yesterday at lunch with my largest client about some of their professionals who are so reliant on tech that they'd rather communicate with the client through the medium of email or text rather than picking the phone up, which comes back to your point, Rich. And this is going to be a huge problem for businesses as we move forward. And again, to quote another industry, I think you're starting to see that tipping point with the banking industry now. You've got businesses like Nationwide saying, do you know what, we're not closing any more banks, because we know that this concept of digital, this physical and digital interaction, is almost tipping the wrong way. And I think businesses that spot that and do something about it quickly in 24 will be far more successful than those that continue to push down this route of keeping the client at arm's length, contact us through the bot, the text message. I've told this story before. My phone contracts with EE, and they make it incredibly difficult for you to get through and speak to a person. You want to put some international roaming on your phone, you ring the number they suggest you ring, then they give you about 19 options, then you have to work out which one you choose, and then to my utter surprise, they tell you that they're going to text you back with another number that you then need to ring. It's farcical. It's like, what is the matter with people? And one of the 5 things that the Institute talks about in their July summary was businesses that make it easy to be contactable again will win in 24. This constant reduction and efficiency gains by removing people. To your point, Ian, people will start to vote with their feet and they'll go elsewhere.
And that plays into the conversations that businesses have about making it easy, but they're making it easy for themselves. It's the old adage, oh, well, yeah, let's get a new CRM system because that old one's really slow for us. It's really difficult for us to pull the data out and do all of these sort of things. Great. And they get that sorted. And then, of course, that knock-on effect is that it makes life harder for the customer.
Yeah.
So again, to your point, you mentioned there, Ian, around client journey mapping, customer journey mapping, you've got to do that sort of thing. You've got to sit back and look at it from the customer's point of view and really challenge yourselves to say, is this good? Who's this best for? Who is this best for? Because ultimately, that short gain you might get by putting in that newer CRM system for your teams is going to be completely washed away when a year later you go in, where's all the customers gone?
It's a really interesting subject. Again, last week I was with a client where, funny enough, we looked at just a marketing message on their website, and we just simply coloured anything that talked about themselves in red. We talked about anything that talked about the customer in green, and we talked about anything that was emotional language in yellow. And it was really quite interesting that the first part of it was all in red, the second part of it then was all in yellow, and the third part of it was all in green. And actually what we said, well, if you rewrite it, you just literally just switch it around again.
Yeah.
So if you then talk about, well, actually, these are the reasons that you should use us, because we help you, Richard, and we help you, Ryan, and this is how we make you feel. Or by the way, we do it by being brilliant at what we do. That's the right order. So it's a bit more than wise, which is probably quite right, given the fact we're getting to Christmas. The message was all all the wrong notes and all the wrong order. Actually, all you had to do was move it around, and then the customer would have felt like, actually, this is all for me, rather than actually the other way around. So booths is an interesting one. Supermarkets are an interesting one. Obviously, I've worked in supermarkets. I know Ryan's worked in in other retail areas as well. There's only one reason those self-serve tills go in, and it's not because customers love them. There's an element of customers that love them. If you're in a town centre, they're obviously quicker and easier if the queues are at the other checkouts. But it's all about cost, and it's all about efficiency. And again, the likes of the Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda's, Morrison's of the world are all operating on a 3 or 4% margin. So cost is really critical to those businesses. So if you can then balance the needs of the business with the needs of the customer, which I guess is what Booth are saying, then I think they're a great idea. So tech going in that makes it easier for customers, easier for people, and better for the business is a smart thing to do. And again, I've told this story very quickly. Last time we went away to Europe, Emma and I flew with Jet2, and on the motorway drive, Emma's telling me about, well, you've got to weigh your own luggage and you've got to put your own labels on. I was like, this is a disgrace. What are we paying these for? And I thought, well, I know what's happened. Jet2 have made it all really efficient and got rid of all their staff on the check-in desks. So driving up to Manchester, it's only about a 45, 50-minute drive for me. I was fuming. And of course, you get into the airport terminal and you're waiting for the fight because the scale doesn't work properly and the stickers don't work properly. And I was greeted by this gentleman in a big red blazer, which was Jet2, and he kind of walked me through the process, walked me to the scales, walked me through to the baggage area. I'd done all the work myself, but it felt brilliant. And I raved about it for the next 5 years, telling everybody about how amazing Jet2 is. Now, I think what they did, they took out a chunk of money from the reduction in staffing, but they then reinvested it back into that experience piece. So having, I'm all for businesses to save the money, absolutely. But choosing to invest tech and make the experience better, now that was a smart thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really interesting one in terms of the money piece, because we know that all those figures are saying was that 86% of customers will pay more for a great experience. So if we can balance the two up, I think that's really interesting. But
on that point, it's an interesting point, isn't it? Because I've raved about Jet2 on this podcast before, because if you look at their market and you look at some of their competitor airlines, and a number of them are actually copying them now. I read a story last week about my least favourite airline that's got an Irish thing on the tail.
Ryanair.
Who are charging, that's the one. That are charging you something ridiculous like 20-30 quid for a online boarding pass. I mean, what it's just like, but and I'm like, look, I know some people don't have a choice, and that may be the only way they can get to where they need to go, but that is just utter profiteering on what is a low cost model. They think, well, I need to make a bit more money, and this is the way I'm going to do it. Jet2 have proved, on the other hand, they can be competitive with their prices. They're not the cheapest, but I don't think they profess to be the cheapest, but they're competitive, and they can still provide an excellent service that everybody's grown about. We've booked with Jet2 every year since that first experience. In fact, I never even open up the TUI app now or, EasyJet. Jet2 is my go-to solution for it. So it just proves that when you get it right and you do it well, people will respond to that. And it comes back to the memories of the experience. To your point, Ian, it was really easy. I went through, you even remembered the guy in the red jacket, and that is it. How simpler can we be? Great use of tech, but great use of human interaction as well.
Well, airlines get a bad press, don't they? Generally, lost luggage and blah blah blah, and it can't be the easiest operation to manage. I'm sure I've never worked that sector, but I appreciate it's not easy. But that doesn't mean that you have to do it badly. And there are great examples. And talking about your experience there or your thoughts around some cheaper operators in the airline industry, it's every industry. Again, I was with another law firm the other week who by their own admission, they're not the cheapest. And they've got themselves to a place where they thought, well, it's all about cost. I said, well, why are you still getting phone calls then? Why are you still getting instructions? Somebody must be prepared to pay a premium for it, otherwise you'd be out of business and they'd all be ringing your cheapest competitor. So again, it's not necessarily about being the cheapest. It's about adding those values and making sure you feel like you're worth it. And Richard's absolutely right. People will quite happily pay a slightly more money for a guarantee of good service, or at least a premium service. And the information I share with lots of clients is our research suggests that 14 or 15% of your customers are probably fairly price sensitive, so they're going to trigger much more about the price. But I think the figures are somewhere 60 or 70% of customers are more service sensitive. So you'll lose far more customers by delivering a bad experience than you'll ever lose by putting your prices up.
Yeah, I mean, it links in massively again to Ryan's point around that emotional connection piece. It's 90% of a buying decisions based on an emotional It's a connection. Of course, logic's going to come in and that cost piece is going to be there. But, if it doesn't feel right, you could have exactly the same costings. In fact, interestingly enough, at the moment, we're just phoning around various solicitors to find out about getting wills written, etc., etc. And, they're very similar pricing, very similar, within 25, £50 differences, which is neither here nor there these days, unfortunately. But what's the difference? It's just that tonality on the phone. It's the enthusiasm, the smile you can hear on the end of the telephone. The fact that they talk about themselves and how they can help, and they really are in the moment with you, rather than hello, how can we help you? Oh, you want a will? Is it for you or for you and a partner? Right, and be this or that. Give us a shout when you're ready. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And I think it's very easy, even with something like that you just described there about a will and probate department law firm. I'm all for processes. My entire life was spent learning and trying to deliver processes, but you can still have to deliver them with a little bit of personality, with a little bit of integrity, with a little bit of love and affection for the client, if you like. And I think what's quite interesting, we look forward to next year, lots of sectors, for a variety of reasons, they've been like this hamster wheel where it's been really, really busy. People have been chucking money out left, right, and centre. Some businesses you described like shooting fish in a barrel. That's about to change. And I think, to your point, and when you asked about, well, what your highlights from last year and maybe forecast for this year, the clients I'm talking to recognise that actually the world's about to change. It's going to get a bit tougher. So therefore, keeping hold of customers and trying to get hold of new customers, it's going to be more challenging. So therefore, we can't carry on behaving the way that we were. We can't be sending out emails and text messages saying, leave us alone, we're busy, because they will leave us alone. And then all of a sudden we're not busy. So again, that definitely is a trend that people are realizing that they cannot carry on doing what they've done over the last 2 or 3 years for the next 2 or 3 years, because it won't work.
So in terms of our tips for 24, and I'm realizing I'm springing this on you both, but as I was listening to you both, a great way to round off the podcast for 24 as the amazing CX specialists we are. What would be your one top tip for businesses next year to be focusing on? And as you're the guest, Ian, I'll let you have a little think about that and put Mr. Knight right on the spot.
Oh, thanks. I tell you, we really do need to have a pre-podcast conversation to work out what the hell it is we're going to say.
No, we don't want to be doing that. We lose all the warbling.
There's the top tip. Let's just crack on and see where it takes you and all that lovely stuff. No. I think from my point of view, the key one that I'm seeing more and more, and Ian alluded to at the start of our conversation, what is around employee engagement, employee experience. Tech's clearly going to be there, but from my point of view, for any firms listening out there, businesses listening out there, are your teams engaged? Are your people really willing to go that extra mile for your organization? How do you know? Are you actually gathering the data, understanding where they are, and not just around money? It's not just around money. I've spoken about motivators before. There's 9 motivators of work. One of them's money, but there's lots of other things people want and need. And if you get that right, if you start to really listen internally as well as externally to your customers, you are then going to have people who are going to want to delight the customers, who are going to want to listen and make a difference to their customers. So yeah, employee engagement, employee focus. Otherwise, you'll have lots of quiet quitters. 69% of the world's employees apparently are quiet quitting, sitting there waiting to finish. It's not very good for performance. So yeah, employee engagement, that'd be where I'm focusing on.
Rich, Ian?
Well, as Rich just declared, this hasn't been scripted or planned in any way, shape or form, but you wouldn't believe so, what I'm about to say. So Richard just talked about the importance of having the employees engaged. I would say it's about the processes. So you can have an engaged team of people that can help to kind of follow the customer journey map and deliver the things the business needs. Because for me, there's always 3 things that are involved in any customer journey map. There's the colleagues, obviously around that colleague experiential piece and making it really easy for them to do a great job. There's the customers or the clients who obviously are on the receiving end of it and ultimately pay the wages. And then there's the commercial side. So I talk about the 3 C's, colleagues, customers, commercials. And if we can get those 3 things right, then the business will be successful. So anything you're looking to change in your business needs to be able to tick 3 boxes. Does it make life easier for colleagues? And some people don't like making it easier for colleagues, but when I say easy, I mean easy for them to do their job brilliantly. Does it make it better for customers? And therefore, it will make it better for commercial. So make sure your processes are really, really good for those three elements. And colleagues is really simple. Can they do the job? Is it easy to follow? Customers, does it enhance the business and the experience? And the commercial side for me is actually, is it efficient? Are you able to be productive in the way that you do things? So the customer journey mapping exercises that we do, yes, we make the process easy to follow, and yes, we also make it better for the customer on the receiving end of it. But it's amazing how many times you trim out inefficiencies or you trim out things that add no value. So actually, you can do two things. You can improve the customer experience and also help yourself to make more money through efficiency and productivity.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Ryan, go on then.
Yeah. So my top tip really builds on but what you both said, because you're absolutely right. In a client journey, you have to have your processes in place, your employees engaged in that process in the organization, and then check that your customers actually value what you're doing. And I've seen a lot of businesses that I've spoken to this year, some really, really positive businesses that understand the power of really good insight. So before they make strategic decisions, they actually kick the tires on their plan before they move forward. And gratefully have asked us to get involved to help them with that process. So my tip, if you're thinking about your strategy for next year, is don't make assumptions. Your assumptions may well be right, but get some really great insight along that journey. Talk to your team, talk to your customers, understand if the journey that you're going to go on is actually the one that your team and your customers want you to go on. Otherwise, to Richard's point, you're going to get lots of quiet quitters, both in your employee estate and also in your customer estate. So use great insight to make informed decisions. And of course, we can always help you with that. Our parting Christmas gift to you all is, please get in contact with any of us. We don't always come with a big price tag attached. We'll often share, as we do on this podcast, month in, month out, our top tips. So, get some good insight, get some good support, and make some great decisions for 24.
Marvelous. And also, of course, if you are listening to us on a regular basis, please do remember to subscribe to whichever channel you're listening through. Follow us to make sure that you can hear us again in 2024, because we will be back. And actually, I think, Ian, thank you ever so much for your time today. It's been brilliant to have you on. And I think we will return and see how things are going up further north from Staffordshire way in 2024, if that's okay. And I'm sure our listeners would like to hear your warblings from that part of the country as well.
That's so far, without a doubt. It could be R&I by the end of next year.
Well, it could.
I think I probably need to work on my accent a little, just to fit in.
Yeah, well, if you you've got to be able to drink lots of cider, because that's all good. But thank you ever so much. It's a Merry Christmas to all our listeners and viewers on YouTube. So thank you ever so much for sticking with us in 2023. Have a fantastic festive break, and we'll be back in 2024. Thank you very much again to Ian Kelsall. Thank you. I've been Rich Knight.
We'll have a great festive period, and we'll see you again in 24.